So let's begin with an introduction to ethical hacking. Now, the objectives for this first module are in understanding the importance of security. We're going to introduce the ethical hacking and other terminology that you need to know for the module. We're going to look at the job role of the ethical hacker. In other words, why would you choose hacking as a profession? We're going to look at ethical hacking vis-a-vis penetration testing and how that works. We're going to understand the different phases involved in a hacking exploit, as well as introducing some of the hacking technologies, the differences between an attack and an exploit, and comprehending the different ethical measures of ethical hacking. And finally, we'll take a brief look at some of the laws and some of the different sites that you can go to find out what are the punishments for hacking itself. So we're going to start out with the need for security. We'll go through the terminology, the elements of security. We'll look at a case study. We'll take then a look at the Malicious Hacker Act. We'll take a look at the hacking cycle itself, which will take us right into hacktivism. Then we'll talk about hacker classes and how ethical hacking plays into that. Next, we'll talk about the need and why there should be ethical hacking out there. And finally, we'll talk about computer crimes and the implications. So, to start out with, we really have to look at what is the problem. Why do we need security and why is it important? Well, security has evolved as a necessary part of the business and due to the fact that a lot of people now are using computers in ways that they weren't using before. In fact, we're using computers for almost everything we do. So as computers become more and more prevalent and they store more and more of our information and we are more hooked up with everybody else, we get to a point where everything is on the computer. And of course, since we want to share with everybody and make that information available across systems, this means we have to make sure that we need to secure that information. Now, in the beginning, there was very few people that could actually go and do any hacking because the skill level involved was quite high. But as you can see, over time, the actual skill level has decreased to the point where now you have people, some people call them script kiddies, that can simply download samples, run them against a computer, and spread viruses and all kinds of destruction of property. So that's one of the reasons why we need to look at security. In addition, having a direct breach of security not only can affect the data, but it also can affect the corporate asset base and the goodwill. In other words, are you going to want to do business with a company that you know has been hacked, or do you want to do business with a company that does not follow best security measures? In addition, with more and more people relying upon confidential information, businesses have a certain liability that they have to make sure that they maintain security on their things. So we begin by looking at some different terminology. First off, what is a threat? Well, a threat is an action or an event that might compromise your security. So a threat basically can come from several different sources, but it's anything that could come, or any action or event that could compromise your security. Now, an exploit, on the other hand, is an actual breach of the security by taking certain actions. In other words, exploiting a known vulnerability. And a vulnerability is a weakness, either in the design, or perhaps the implementation, or maybe just in the code itself that would allow us to go ahead and breach security. So an attack is the last piece. It's actually the assault on the system itself. So a piece of software or a computer system has a vulnerability, and it is exploited with an attack to compromise that security. So the different elements of security, first off, what is security? And it's basically just a state of well-being. It's a state that my information is protected and my infrastructures are protected, and nobody can steal my information. Nobody can compromise my information. They can't tamper with it. In addition, security is also making sure that my information is available to those people that need that. So, security rests upon basic foundations, 4 basic foundations. You have confidentiality, authenticity, integrity, and availability. Of course, confidentiality is making sure that things that are supposed to be kept private are indeed kept private. Authenticity, are we sure that everything is the correct data? Did it come from the right spot? Is it the actual, is the email from the person who says it's being sent from? Integrity, how well can we trust the information? Do we know for a fact that it has not been compromised and that we can trust the information? And finally, availability, making sure that our information is available for those that need it. So, with security, functionality, and ease of use, you have this triangle. And basically what happens here is you have to find the happy medium between the three of them. Of course, you want to make sure that you provide the right amount of functionality for your people, and you also want to have the functionality, or the information I should say, easy to use, but you have to maintain that security. So this is not just something that you configure, you turn on, and you walk away from it. This is a constant battle that you have to do to find the happy medium. What's going to be the most functionality you want to provide, or the ease of use, and that's going to depend upon your system and your security itself. So in this first case study, let's take a look at how security can affect more than just your data. For instance, you have a person who's in an airport and he's supposed to go to a wedding, and Continental has announced the cancellation of his hopover flight. In addition, he decided to purchase a seat on a different airline, but the ATM's not working. In fact, if he looks around, he notices that everybody is using pens and papers to make these reservations. In other words, they can't use their data. This is just a brief example of how security can compromise not only things like your personal information, you can't access, or Alan can't access his data, but in addition, they can't sell seats. In fact, they've even had to cancel flights, all because somebody has compromised somebody's system.